Good evening and a warm welcome to this live Q&A session for the Faculty of AgriSciences. Ons is baie bly dat julle vanaand by ons kan inskakel en ons hoop dat ons al julle vrae kan beantwoord. As you've now immediately heard, you can please WhatsApp your questions to us in either in Afrikaans or in English. And while you are doing that, I'm going to just introduce the panel and my guests that are here with me to answer all your more difficult questions that I can't. On my left-hand side is Felicia Mabitsela. She is all the way from Polokwane, from a small little town, or a smaller town, no, it's not that small, 100 kilometers outside of Polokwane. She's doing a master's degree in agronomy. Yeah. Then we've got Professor Maurette de Tooy. She's our Vice Dean for Learning and Teaching. She really gets all the difficult questions tonight. And then we've got Erik van Zyl. He's our faculty administrator, and he is the person behind all your applications and everything that you do. Now, we've already received a few questions from a lot of people, but before I start organizing myself, I think what I'm just going to do, first, Felicia, I need to know, all the way from Polokwane, why did you decide on AgriSciences and why at Stellenbosch University?
Well, that's kind of a tricky question, because when I decided why Stellenbosch and why AgriScience, I think it was around 6-7 years ago. But my interest for agriculture started when I was in grade 10. So I was fortunate enough, the high school that I went to offered agricultural science as one of the subjects. So I want to believe I was kind of doing well in the subject, and my agricultural science teacher helped me in his hand, and he was just like, I'll show you what AgriScience is all about. Because in my head at beginning when I heard of agriculture, it was, I don't want to be a farmer. So he was like, nope, I'll hold you in my hand and I'll show you what AgriSciences is all about. And as for why I chose Stellenbosch, it's pretty much because Stellenbosch is one of the best universities in agriculture in the world, but also because back then, when I was still in high school, when I just searched the universities in South Africa that offers agricultural science course, Stellenbosch was just popping up a lot. And when I mentioned it to my peers at that time that I think I want to go to Stellenbosch, it sounded like it was just a dream. Like, Stellenbosch is in Cape Town, you are in Limpopo. That's like 1,700 kilometers away. Are you sure Stellenbosch has higher requirements entries? You might not make it through. So for me, it was more of, I have to prove a point that regardless of whether I am from a small village that is disadvantaged, I can get into it if I put my mind to it. So that's basically the reason why I ended up here.
Maurette, Prof, can I ask you, can you add perhaps why you think a degree in the applied sciences is so valuable and why students should go? Felicia did touch on some of it, but can you add to that?
Yeah, maybe, I mean, the biggest thing is, as she said, not becoming a farmer. The most important part is actually the second word, which is AgriSciences. So it's a very scientifically based degrees, doesn't matter in which of the departments or streams you are interested in, but if you have a love for science, it's all about implementing and applying scientific principles. So, and I think for my side, the greatest thing is that all of the departments are linked to industries and sectors, so you have an immediate career profile that you can start with after finishing a professional degree, because it's a 4-year degree, to enter the job market in a specific sector.
Prof, a question that came through that touches on that is, what is the difference between a BSc and a BSc Agric?
So yeah, so in our first year, the first year is, I would say 95% the students will sit in natural sciences. As I said, our degree is based on the foundation of science, but then you enter in the science field, but applying it to a sector, conservation ecology, viticulture and enology, or grape wine and wine sciences, forestry and wood sciences. So it immediately makes the science tangible for the students, that they can understand the context of the science in a specific field. So I think it's combining the best of both worlds, taking the science but embedding it in an applied environment as agriculture. And if you think about agriculture, every day of your life, everybody is reliant on agriculture, and that's what makes this sector a very dynamic and forward-moving, innovative, entrepreneurial aspect to actually study. In the end, you've got many opportunities from a job and career perspective.
Perhaps we can jump into some of the questions. Eric, they are all going to be flooded to you. Somebody asked if she doesn't qualify for the program, but they are improving their marks this year. Will they be rejected currently with their current matric results?
So if students are applying now, they have to apply even if they don't meet the minimum requirements currently. Then unfortunately your application will be initially unsuccessful. But once your improved results are available in January, there will be a link available that you can request from us where you can ask for reconsideration, and then we reconsider you for the program that you applied for based on your improved results.
And if you've already received a final NSC, or you've already have your NSC, when will you receive your final offer?
So it will be dependent on how the selection process during the year goes. We hope to have all offers out to students by September. If you have completed grade 12 already, you will receive a final offer. If you are currently busy with grade 11, you will then receive a conditional offer based on your final grade 12 results meeting the minimum requirements on your final grade 12 results, and then receive a final offer in January.
So do I understand correctly, you apply now with your grade 11 results, you get a conditional offer if you meet the minimum requirements, then you accept it, or you could get a final offer once you have written your final matric exam and you've received those results?
That is correct.
What happens if you don't meet the requirements based on grade 11? You said that you must still apply.
Yes, so then you apply, then initially your application will be unsuccessful if you don't meet the minimum requirements. But once you then get your final grade 12 results and you do meet the minimum requirements for the program, there will be a link available in January that you can request from us, where you then can apply for reconsideration.
Okay. Ons het so 'n lekker vraag om te vra, hoe doen mense aansoek vir Elsenburg Landbouopleidingsinstituut? How do you apply for the Be a Greek degree program at Elsenburg Agricultural Institute? Erik.
So it will be dependent on which specific Elsenburg program you are referring to, but the program that we offer in collaboration with Elsenburg is the Be Agric, and you follow the normal application process for the Be Agric degree. If it's the diploma or certificate programs that you're referring to, then that is directly at Elsenburg campus.
Dankie Erik. And now we've received quite a number of questions from Chart van der Walt. Baie dankie Chart. I'm going to ask them just in English if you don't mind, then everybody can understand that. He's asking, first of all, can you study online or is it only on campus? I think Prof. Du Toit, I'm going to ask this to you. How does it work with practicals and when do you have practice? And he wanted to know whether he can still get a place if he didn't receive an 80% average. And then, wat is die beste graad in die fakulteit onder viticulture and oenology, en wat kan ek met die graad doen nadat ek gestudeer het? Now, Chart, you are a very lucky man today because Prof. Du Toit is actually a microbiologist and she has found a niche in wine microbiology. So she is definitely the right person to answer this question for you.
So the first question is related to campus or online. Stellenbosch is a residential university, meaning that most of our activities are on campus, but we also have online aspects within a course, but you will need to be at the university when you are accepted and approved. So that's the first one. So ons is residentieel, beteken ons kursusse loop op campus. Practicals, all modules have a theory part and a practical part. So obviously you will have practical afternoons or mornings depending on the modules. So every week you will have a combination between theory classes and then translating the theory into practicals. So in AgriSciences we also have an experimental farm which we use extensively to train students in most of the programs in agriculture. So we have direct access to the learning material from a practical perspective on the farm. Sjoe, nou moet ek mooi onthou, die derde een was 80% average. So obviously, the higher your average, the better your chance is to be selected. But you have to have the minimum requirements, which is related to maths, physical sciences, and having a language, and an average of 60. So obviously, if you're an 80%er, great. We'll gladly accept you, and you will probably make. We are not a selectie cursus of
Selection.
so there's no room that you need to apply. So we have normally around 450 to 500 students in the first year. So, and we accept all the students who make the final admission to the university. The last one with viticulture and oenology, I can take the rest of the 30 minutes to explain what you can do with a degree, but it's basically from being a farmer, a viticulturist, looking after the vineyards, into the cellar where you become a winemaker, into sensory, any of the suppliers that provide products and solutions to the industry, you can enter any of those. So you can become an entrepreneur. You can go into table grapes because we're not just wine grapes, we also have options in table grapes. So it's up to you where you see yourself after you've studied to enter any of the different sectors in the grape and wine industries. But the opportunities are many.
If I may add to it, because we just received also another question about the job opportunities within food science and agricultural economics. You know what, when you go and study within the applied sciences, it's really as broad as the Lord's mercy, and you really decide in which area you want to go into. So if you want to go into journalism, in marketing, in advertising, if you want to go into a sensory side, if you want to go into product development, if you want to become the manager, the CEO of the business, or the entrepreneur, you would be able to do that. So you apply your knowledge that you are taught at university level into a particular sector, and you decide which sector it is, and that whole value chain from, we always say, from the farm to the fork. So whether you want to go into primary production or if you want to be with the end consumer, you would be able to do that. Another question came up about bursaries. Unfortunately, it's too specific. I can't really answer any of those, so you're more than welcome to visit the university's website and see. I think it opens on the 1st of May. I speak under correction. You can also email us at agric@sun.ac.za. I do have a list of possible bursaries that you can apply for that I update as I see them. But yeah, so there are opportunities, but it is difficult for first-year students to get bursaries. Erik, a question coming from Natasha asking, students doing Cambridge curriculum want to apply for a BSc Conservation Ecology. Do they need physics and chemistry on AS level, or can they apply with math, English, Afrikaans, chemistry on AS and physics on ICSI level?
So with the international curriculums, there are specific requirements students need to meet, a little bit different to the National Senior Certificate. What I can say is for the Cambridge, you are required to have chemistry and physics up to AS level, but there will be a more in-depth discussion regarding international curriculums on Monday, the 13th of May. I think it's from 5:30 until 6 o'clock.
Okay. Somebody's asking whether they need to write NBTs. Erik?
No NBTs are required for the AgriSciences faculty, so you can relax on that one.
Fasiwe is also asking, if I'm currently repeating grade 12, will my application only be considered off my final results, or would you consider June and prelims as well?
Unfortunately, we can only consider applications on final results of a final year, so final grade 11 or final grade 12. So if you don't currently meet those minimum requirements, please still do apply, and then once you have those final results and you do meet the minimum requirements, then we will gladly reconsider your application.
We got another question on Elsenburg to say whether I can do the Be a Greek program only at Elsenburg, or can I do it at Stellenbosch University? Perhaps I can just answer it. the Be Agric degree program, Be Agric in Landbouproduksie en Bestuur. It's a program that is offered by Elsenburg. On the Elsenburg campus, they've got their own facilities, their own lecturers, they've got their own residences. So you do that program at Elsenburg, but it's underwritten by Stellenbosch University. So after your 3-year degree program, you get a qualification from both Elsenburg as well as from Stellenbosch University. But your classes and everything is done at the Elsenburg campus. There's only one Be Agric program. It's a Be Agric in Agribusiness Management. Be Agric, agri-ondernemingsbestuur. Nee, agri-besigheidsbestuur, skus. Kry ek die eie naam verkeerd. So if you do the Be Agric Agribusiness Management, that is a Stellenbosch University program that you do on the Stellenbosch campus and not at Elsenburg. But the Be Agric Agricultural Production and Management program, that is an Elsenburg program. You can only do that. Felicia, I got one here where they said, do you have to come from a farming background if you want to go and study agri? Do you come from a farming background?
Nope, I don't come from a farming background.
And what are your plans with, what are you going to do with your MEC in agronomy?
Well, I'm at the final stage of my master's, so hopefully I'll get into industry next year, but I want to go through the research development team. So my focus is just on research. I want to do research.
Fantastic.
Whether it's through institutions or industry, as long as I'll be within the research team.
And if I may ask, what is your MSc about? What research are you currently doing?
Yeah, it's broad, but I'll just quickly say what I'm looking at. We're looking at how different tillage treatments affect the distribution of nutrients under the soil, and how does that distribution now affect the crop productivity. So we are more focused on conservation agriculture. I have 2 crops that we are alternating, canola and wheat. So yeah, basically that's that in short. We have 7 tillage treatments, and what I do basically at the moment, we are collecting soil samples down to 45 centimeter depth. So it's like a tedious job. We hit a pipe with a hammer to collect the samples, take them to the lab. Then we do the analysis and check the distribution of the soils at different soil levels. Then we check under different soil depth what nutrients do we have, and if there is a normal distribution or if it's non-uniform, then we take that, we correlate it with what's going on above ground.
And what it sounds to me, what is wonderful, it's not that you're not stuck in a lab, you're actually outdoors as well.
I'm actually 60% outdoors and 30% in the lab, so it's more or less balanced, but most of the time I'm outside in the field.
I think that is also the magic about AgriSciences and the applied sciences, is that you choose the environment that you want to go and work in. So if you really want to be in the lab, you can be that. If you want to be outdoors, if you want to wear high heels, fancy shoes, you would be able to do that as well. So you choose the environment where you want to do. Got a question from Akku that said, I've applied with my final grade 12 results. I meet the minimum requirements. My status is still under review. When can I expect a reply? Erik.
So we are constantly reviewing the applications as they come in. At best, we would hope to send students by in July. You'll probably have an answer if your application is already in reviewed. Otherwise, the applications are closing the end of July. So if you're applying at the end of July, then by latest you'll receive feedback by in September.
May I perhaps ask, what are the different statuses that an application can have?
So there's basically, the first one is submitted, so that's when you submitted your application. Then those applications go to our central application office that reviews those applications to see that all the documents are there that needs to be uploaded, that everything's certified and correct. And then those reviewed applications come to us, and if you get selected, you will either receive a status that a conditional offer was issued to you or a final offer was issued to you.
Okay. I've got a nice question here from Hendrik wat vra, as hy by Stellenbosch kom swat, gaan hy in Afrikaans of in Engels swat? Prof de Tooy, can you please answer the language question for us?
So ja, in die eerste jaar, omdat dit saam met natuurwetenskappe is, kan jy besluit in watter taal jy jou onderrig wil hê. Afrikaans is altyd beskikbaar met of in tyd translasie in die klas, vertaling, so daar's iemand in die klas wat dan van Engels na Afrikaans vertaal. Alle notas is beskikbaar in Afrikaans en Engels, alle vraestelle, toetse kan in Afrikaans of Engels ingedien word. So ja, dit gaan absoluut afhang van die dosent se vaardighede, want ons het internasionale dosente wat nie Afrikaans magtig is nie, en hulle het dan die opsie om deur die tolking dan in Afrikaans iemand in jou klas te hê wat dit vir jou in Afrikaans tolk. Maar ek moet sê studente baie van die handboeke is internasionale handboeke, so dit is in Engels, maar ja, alles is beskikbaar en toeganklik vir die studente in beide Afrikaans en Engels. Dis hoekom ons praat van multilingualism, so dat niemand gaan uitgesluit word as gevolg van taal nie.
So for our English speakers and listeners, it's just that language is not going to exclude you on the Stellenbosch campus. And specifically for Afrikaans students that are worried that they might not hear or speak Afrikaans, it is available in that language as well, even though that students sometimes tend to choose English. I always jokingly tell parents, and if there are any of you, students will always blame the two L's, either the language or the lecturer. They will never admit that they didn't go to class or that they didn't go prepared to class. It's always, jy weet mos my juffrou kan nie wiskunde verduidelik nie, you know, it's my math teacher that cannot explain things to me, but you will never admit that it was actually you. Could you please speak more about food science, its requirements, and the subjects covered in the degree? Maret, perhaps?
You can do the requirements.
Okay, the requirements are basically the same. So you need a language, either Afrikaans, English, your first home language or first additional language. You need at least a 60% average. You need to have mathematics 60% and physical sciences 50%. But food sciences is definitely one of our popular programs, so we do tend to have a higher cutoff mark, and just by meeting the minimum requirements does not necessarily mean that you will get a space or a place within the program. The first year when it starts off, we start with, it's a BSc in food science, so you will have chemistry, you will have physics, you will have mathematics, you will have biology, you will have a bit of computer science. I always say it's like a triangular. You start with a broad basis in all the programs. So whether you go and study viticulture and oenology, whether you're going to do plant and soil science, animal sciences, or food science, your first 6 months of the year is exactly the same. It is only in your second half of the year where you take a subject specifically from that particular environment. And then obviously as you go in your second, third and fourth year, then you start focusing more on your food chemistry, and perhaps Prof can there add to.
So obviously it's also about the raw material. They also teaching students on alternative protein-based products. There's new product development, which is absolute the highlight of the degree, because all the students have to develop, depending on the theme that they choose, a real product. They have to make it, go through the process, design the packaging. So yeah, they've got engineering subjects, because obviously some of the processes is highly reliant on machinery, and especially packaging. Microbiology is a big part of the curriculum, and then chemistry. How do you chemically define products? What will you need to analyze? And then the other aspect that is quite well engaged with students is sensory. So they have 1 or 2 modules where the sensory aspect of food or food related products is handled and dealt with. And I mean, that means that you actually cover the whole value chain, from getting raw material, how do you assess raw material, what is the process to transform that raw material into a final product. So yeah, it's a well-designed course. As Monica said, it's very popular because there's so many facets of the degree that you can then decide on in which part of food science you want to enter from a career perspective. So yeah, it's a great degree to do from my side, because it's well designed and it's as broad as it needs to be to ensure that you can enter any sector of the product development pipeline in the end.
And don't forget that the Department of Food Sciences is highly ranked in South Africa and worldwide, so it's a fantastic place to study. Lisa, I'm so glad that you sent this question through, because I would have forgotten to mention this. Is any agricultural subject acceptable, or does it have to be agricultural sciences? You do not need to have the subject agricultural sciences to study within the faculty. You need mathematics and physical sciences. Those two are the most important subjects. We did receive a question, Erik, mathematical literacy.
So for mathematical literacy, you unfortunately will only be eligible to apply for the B-Agric program on Elsenburg campus. All our other programs on main Stellenbosch campus requires pure mathematics with a minimum of 60%.
Okay. Katleo, thank you very much for your question. You are asking if we do offer any agribusiness courses. Yes, we do. We have the BAgric Agribusiness Management Program, which is a 3-year degree program. We also have a BSc program in Agricultural Economic Analysis, and then also in Agricultural Economic Analysis and Management, and also the combination with food sciences. So there's 5 different programs that you can choose from. We definitely have. Felicia, a question here. What is a typical day like in the life of an agronomy student?
That's a very difficult question, because it depends on the season. Sometimes, like for now, it's a planting season. So the typical days in the field, either collecting samples, doing plant counts, or data collection, or it could be in your library or room or at the department doing research. So that's basically that. Or after you collect your samples or your data, you'll be in the lab and analyzing the data. So,
okay. We're almost getting towards the end of this 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, they always say. I just want a final question to all of our panelists is just a bit of advice, perhaps, to our prospective students. Felicia, starting from you, you know, you're the closest to where they are. Any advice to them?
I will say, personally, just know what you want and block the outside world and just focus on what you want and work towards getting it, because otherwise there'll be too many noises, and if you listen to the noises, you eventually might just follow the noise. But if you block the noise and just focus on what you want, it makes the whole university journey quite easier.
Awesome. Prof. Toy?
From my side, I think your focus should be on maths and physical science. You've heard those are the 2 subjects, so my advice to you is put everything in, and the rest will fall in place once you have been accepted and submitted. Knowing exactly what you want to study can still change within the first 6 months, being exposed on campus to different programs and degrees. But yeah, make sure you can live your dream by meeting the minimum requirements.
Erik?
I think the most important advice I can give is to ask for help. Yeah. This is, as a prospective student and as a current student, the sooner you ask, if you're unsure, the quicker we can help you. Sometimes it's not too late to help you. So if you're unsure about anything, make contact with me or Monica or our client services team. We are always here to advise you and to help you and to guide you. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
A final question from Steph that's asking what hostel is best for agri students. Steph, students are allocated in randomly where you, according to your, or you can choose 3 residences, and the housing office or the placement office tries to put you in one of those 3, but there's really not a big difference, and they don't allocate students specifically in a particular residence based on what they go and study. So go and have a look at the website, get a feel for the different residences, ask your previous students that went with you to school where they are at, and then you make the decision for you. From my side, I just want to thank everybody that joined us as a panelist, but also you from home. Our doors are really open if you want to, if you've got more questions, if you want to visit the campus. Please also go and revisit our Open Day platform where there's a lot of fantastic fantastic and valuable information. And should you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to send us an email to agric, that's AGRIC, and then @sun.ac.za, or even easier, mh@sun, that's mine, Monica Besson, mh@sun.ac.za. So from the AgriSciences team, thank you very much, and yeah, good night.